There are a few things that have surprised me with this mini PC, both good and bad, but overall I've been really quite impressed with it. On Amazon, it's marketed as a light gaming or office computer, and after running the benchmarks on this, I thought it was weird that they kind of said light gaming, but after I tried a bunch of games on it, I think that's actually pretty accurate, and certainly this would work really well as an office mini PC. This was sent to me so I could make this video and try it out. I'm going to go ahead and show you the insides and the ports, and then after that I'm going to walk you through all of the different tests I've done and kind of my overall opinion on this. It comes with an HDMI cable, a mounting bracket, and some screws, and the power supply for this is 19 volts, 3.4 amps. As far as form factor goes, it kind of reminds me of a Mac Mini. So it's the Model K1, 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage with a Ryzen 7 CPU. And here are the stickers on front. And this is pretty interesting, a note about connecting to LAN. I think this just refers to Windows making you log in if you're connected to the internet. So if you're not connected to the internet, you can bypass some of that. I actually think this is a really good suggestion. So you've got one HDMI display port for USB 3. Here's where your power goes. Your sides got ventilation on the other side, and then on the front you've got two more USB 3 ports. Then you got your USB-C, and you can see as I touch it, it gets kind of greasy. I should try not to touch it so much, I guess. Let's see if there are some screws under the feetsies here. And yes, there are. The feet were not easy to take off, and the screws are in there deep. I feel like this is not intended to be upgraded. All right, so I did get all the screws out. I'm getting this greasier by the second. We got the fan on this side, nice large fan for cooling. And then on this side, we do have a slot for PCIe. So 2 NVMe slots and 2 slots for RAM. Of note, the RAM is DDR4. It looks like the power button fell off, so let's get that back together. So while it's definitely upgradable, it's not the easiest access. The first thing I always do when testing a computer is I run benchmarks. I do Geekbench 6, and after seeing the scores for this, the scores were actually pretty average for mini PCs I've tried, and a bit lower than other mini PCs I've tried that are marketed as gaming mini PCs. Now, what surprised me about this is after I run the benchmarks, I actually tried a bunch of games. So I tried some older games, like I tried Myst, and that actually ran okay. I played Portal, and Portal's so old that it will probably run on anything. In Portal, I was getting 60 frames per second. On Myst, I think it was somewhere in between 30 and 40. So after trying that, I tried it on some games I thought probably wouldn't work. I tried it on Rocket League, and that was actually okay. It was about 30 frames per second, and of course, with most modern games, you can tweak performance or the graphics settings. So even if you have a mini PC like this, where the graphics aren't that amazing, you can lower the graphics settings and still get pretty decent gameplay. I also tried Fortnite on this, and I probably wouldn't recommend Fortnite, but I was still getting around 30 frames per second. So you could certainly get away with it as a light gaming PC, as they say on the Amazon description. Now, on the other hand, if you wanted to do retro gaming, this would work really well for that. I also tried a bunch of graphics programs. So Krita, I opened that up. That ran fine. The GIMP ran fine as well. I also tried a couple files in Blender, and for smaller Blender files, that's not an issue at all. I tried some spreadsheets as well, and those actually loaded really quite fast, and I could scroll through and I could view spreadsheets, no problem at all. So Office PC, no problem there. I also opened up a bunch of tabs on Chrome just to see how that would perform, see if I'd get lagginess or if things would slow down. They did not. Now this does have 32 gigs of RAM, so obviously that's going to help out quite a bit for something like that. And really, after running all my software tests, I think this is really quite an impressive computer. Now, it comes with 32 gigs built in, 1 terabyte of storage. So if you were to just grab this and use it right off the bat, you've got a really decent mini PC at a really good price. Here are some of the things I think you should be aware of. I did try this with Linux to see if you could install it easily as a server if you wanted to do something like that. And everything seemed to work fine on Linux, except it didn't recognize the Wi-Fi drivers. Now in Windows, the Wi-Fi I would say is okay. I was getting pretty fast speeds, but not not my fastest possible speeds, but on Linux, it just didn't recognize the Wi-Fi. Now, if you're going to use this as a server, I imagine you're going to plug it into Ethernet. That worked just fine in Linux, but certainly something to be aware of. The other thing to be aware of, as you saw when I took this apart, it was kind of awkward taking it apart, and honestly, it was pretty bad putting it together. I really would not recommend taking this apart unless you absolutely have to. Now, I will say you can upgrade the storage and you can upgrade the RAM up to 64 gigabytes. So there's definitely a reason to open it up. But the problem I found, for one, when I opened it up, the power button actually fell off. It was kind of hard to put it back on and kind of shimmy everything into place. The other thing I thought was weird is I found a wire across one of the USB ports after I put it together, and it looks like it has a couple wires, probably for Wi-Fi antenna or something. It was really actually quite difficult for me to get the wires out of the way just so I could put everything together. Kind of a weird design. So just be aware, if you do want to upgrade the storage or the RAM, you got to be pretty careful when taking this apart and putting it back together again. So while I wouldn't really recommend this as a gaming mini PC, I think light gaming is pretty accurate. You could get away with gaming on this. I think as an office PC or a media PC or a server, this is going to be really impressive, work really well. I did do a virus scan before I did anything. I didn't find any viruses. This does support 3 monitors at 4K. So in the back, you've got your DisplayPort and HDMI, and then in the front, you've got USB 3.2. So you can use this USB port in the front for an additional monitor. So you can do 3 monitors at once if you want to. I should point out, when I did all the gaming tests, it was all single monitor, 1080p. Oh, and the last thing I want to point out, that the big beefy fan that you saw when I took this apart, it's actually really quiet, and that's actually quite important to me. I like quiet. I record a lot, so I need a quiet fan. This thing is quiet. Overall, really nice mini PC, and sure, it's good as a light gaming mini PC as well.